What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the PBA Pick'em Preview Show. And today I'm going to be joined by a special guest, possibly the busiest man in the bowling industry right now, definitely leading the league in least amount of hours slept, probably over the course of about the last 3 to 5 days. Let's bring him in here. Jeff Richgels. Jeff, my man, thanks for coming and joining us today.
Hey, happy to be here, Matt.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's been a busy couple of days for you, I'm sure. And on top of that, we've had some really great action going on the PBA Tour telecast thus far throughout the World Series of Bowling. What kind of takeaways you got so far? Especially last night, a surprising show, surprisingly low scoring pace for what we all expected probably to be the highest scoring pace of all the World Series television shows.
Yeah, I think the neat thing that you see, urethane doesn't really impact scoring during the tournament too much on Cheetah, but they get on TV and those lights and whatever. It seems like every time you see guys using urethane on TV, the scores go down. Remember a couple of weeks ago with Tommy and Dom, the show Dom won, and the 210 fest that Tommy and Sean Maldonado had as the but when you go and watch brackets in a normal part of a tournament, you don't see it to that extreme, and it happened again last night, and it was cool to see Kyle win, though. Kyle and I, I made a little post this afternoon about that, not a story, just a Facebook post, and I crossed with Kyle at the 2011 InsideBowling.com Open when he was 17.
Wow.
And I remember, telling Flanagan, who was running it, I said, boy, that kid's got some talent. We may see him someday on the PBA. And I've watched his career build, obviously, up to when he won the doubles and that. And it is kind of a inevitability. But my biggest takeaway of the PBA this year is wide open bowler of the year race, which we haven't had the last couple of years and many of Belmo's best years. This is reminiscent to me sort of 2018, where really the season almost ends here in the next month or two when we get through the Masters, and then all we have is the playoffs, and then that's pretty much it. And at this point, it's anybody's ball game, isn't it? I mean, you got no one has multiple majors. Prather has a first and a second, and there's other guys with two shows. And I mean, whoever wins these next two nights, and then the Masters and the playoffs.
Yeah, it certainly got some chance for some things to heat up here in the next couple of weeks, couple of months or so for sure. We're going to get into, folks, right now. Jeff's going to break down his picks for tonight's contest.
0 for 10. Here we go.
No.
Hey, my preview was so bad. If any of my readers read my story when you let me do the preview one of the players, I think I had 2 right at best because some of them I couldn't check because I didn't keep my score sheets. But, oh, God, I was like, whew. This is tough. So I hope they're a little easier than that.
Yeah, I think, we're trying to cater the questions a little differently now, and hopefully with some info from the previous World Series shows. Granted, last night's Cheetah Championship throws some things off. It makes you wonder, is tonight going to be as ugly as it was last night? Or, I think one thing that will affect tonight and one thing that affected last night for sure is maybe the amount of experience that the bowlers have on the show. Tonight you've got Belmo, you've got EJ, you've got Tommy, Packy, who's obviously a little bit newer to television relative to the rest of the guys. And so, I think you're going to see probably some better shot making on tonight's television show. That's just my guess. But last night was certainly a lot of people were, I think, eliminated when, the average of the overall television finals was so low. I'm sure a lot of people probably picked 240. But, Jeff, one thing interesting that I did want to throw by you, on 2 telecasts ago on the World Championship show with Belmo, I don't know if you saw a recap yesterday, but only 31% of people that played the Pick'em contest picked Belmo to win the World Championship finals. Is that interesting to you? What do you take from that?
Yeah, I guess maybe because people are thinking, well, everybody's going to pick Belmo, so I don't want to. Like when you're doing an NCAA bracket pool this week. This year, we don't have an overwhelming number 1 team in the NCAA basketball. So, but many years we've had a North Carolina or Duke or something. And it's like, well, if I'm going to win my pool, I can't pick them to win because everybody's going to pick them to win. So I'm going to pick some other team. And, that's the way you think you win. So maybe that kind of pushed Belmo aside. That can't hardly be a factor with this field tonight, though. I mean, you got, Simo, you got 4 guys who are lock Hall of Famers. Tommy's already in. The other three other guys are lock Hall of Famers, and one guy that certainly looks like he has loads of potential with Packy. So, trying to pick a winner tonight is,
it's going to be a tough one for sure. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm going to get this screen up there. For anybody that hasn't played already tonight, you can go to pbapick'em.com to play. It's completely free. Got a chance to win up to $10,000 and awesome other bowling prizes. So let's go ahead here. Let's get into it, Jeff. Let's not waste any more time here. Who's going to win the first match? Question number 1, EJ Tackett or Jason Belmonte?
Holy mackerel. How fun is that for opening?
That's going to be an electric first match, and I got a feeling there's going to be some swerving going on the lanes in match number 1.
This may be a rarity. This may be a TV show where we see some gutter cap lofting, depending what kind of balls these guys use and stuff. And, I almost never bet against Belmo. But I got to tell you, after EJ won the doubles and as fabulous as he bowled and the emotion that poured out of him, it was like like almost a literal unleashing of the monkey on the back thing there. You could just see all that tension from so many shows he's been on and so many losses, and some of them where he bowled good and some of them where he bowled bad or didn't have a look. And I just have this feeling that he's just going to be freewheeling. And I mean, I never pick against Belmo. He's the greatest of all time, perhaps in my mind, greatest of this era without a doubt. And but I think EJ, I'm thinking EJ may make the run tonight.
I like it. I like the bold call. I think and getting back to a couple shows ago where EJ bowled Simo in the title match there, and Belmo was also on that show. And we saw Belmo post afterwards saying that he tried to basically become too smart. He tried to really outsmart the lanes, and he tried to really make it probably more difficult than it actually was. And we saw some gutter cap lofting there towards the end, and until they realized that was not the play that day. So it's interesting that you note that, because I think we certainly got a lot of guys on today's show that aren't necessarily scared to give it some airtime. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. So let's move on here. Question number 2, how many strikes are going to be thrown in match 2? This is going to be between the winner of that Belmo and EJ match, and then it's going to be Packy Hanrahan, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, this is very interesting because this show could go so many ways, and I have a feeling that this show is going to turn into a disaster for the righties, and all this rev rate on the right side. Boy, this could really, really get ugly for the right-handers. So I'm thinking that Packy's really, if he's got a look, it would not surprise me to see him win his first title. He came so close a few weeks ago there against Jesper, and if he's got his side to himself, he can set it up what he wants. So if I figured he was going to get 7, 8, and maybe either EJ. Well, I picked EJ. So,
actually, Jeff, I made a mistake. It's going to be first Tommy.
This is Tommy. That's right. You're right.
Sorry. The number 2 seed is Packy.
Packy's 2. You're right.
Tommy.
You're right. Well, I'm going to think that the scores are going to go down on the right side for the first as they progress through. So I'm going to go low here and think that this is maybe going to be 11.
11. I like the guess. Last night, going into the 10th frame is a real big determining factor in that question. Because you got 6 potential in that one frame between the two guys. So last night, I think in the second match last night or third match, can't remember which one, halfway through the game, there were as many splits as there were strikes. And
do you count the roll-off strikes?
What's that?
Do you count the roll-off strikes?
No. So according to the official rules, the roll-off strikes do not count towards the match. We've kind of had a lot of discussion about that, and we've decided against it. But it was interesting to see yesterday the amount of splits that were left and how they compared to the amount of strikes that were being thrown. But, of course, in the 10th frame, they got it together and they threw some more strikes. So obviously it led to more strikes than splits being thrown. Speaking of splits here, how many splits are going to be left throughout the entire step ladder? Yesterday's telecast, there was like 7 or 8 splits that were left. Before then, it's generally been around 4 or 5 splits that have been left throughout the entire telecast. So do with that information what you will.
Well, from what I saw during the tournament, it seemed like Scorpion was the pattern that was kind of the highest risk, high reward one, where there were a lot of strings, but a lot of splits too.
Mm-hmm.
Shark, maybe you didn't get as many 210s because the ball wasn't making such a strong motion on the back end. But from what I didn't get a chance because of my real job to watch as much of the flow as I wanted during the World Series. But it seemed like Scorpion had a lot of splits. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say more than 6.
More than 6. Man, a lot of bold predictions here. I'm sensing a little bit of March Madness mentality. If you're going to win this, you're going to win it by
Hey, I don't have any money on the line, so what the heck?
Yeah, what the heck, right? That's one of the best parts. It's free to play here. All right, what will be the overall average of all the games bowled throughout the step ladder?
To me, this is basically the toughest question. It's almost like random chance.
Right.
Because one guy shooting 270 can so distort the average, everybody else could struggle. Or like in tonight, you might have all the righties struggling like crazy, and Packy could shoot, big games and kind of split it off. So to me, this is almost like picking random chance. So I'm going to go right in the middle and go 211 to 215.
211, 215, good guess. That has been an answer for one of the previous events. And, it's crazy. On the World Championship show, the average was higher than 240, right? You didn't see a lot of low scores, and then on the Cheetah show, you get the average was less than 210. It's really crazy. So like you said, definitely a tough question here. How many spares will be missed throughout the entire step ladder? This is always a sketchy one because I feel like when it rains, it pours. And when you get a lot of people missing a lot of spares, somehow it rubs off on the opponent and they all start missing spares together.
Now, are washouts counted as?
Washouts are not considered splits. Good point. Or excuse me, not that washouts are considered spares. Sorry. Washouts or splits are not considered spares though.
Well, boy, these experienced guys like this. And then of course we've seen so many missed single pins on the shows this year from guys who are really good. But with this field, I'm not thinking there's going to be a lot, but there might be some pretty nasty, multi-pin combos left too. If I'm thinking the scoring pace might not be so high. So
right.
I'm going to go 4 to 5 and just
4 to 5. All right. Love it.
That's one a match.
I love the analytical side of things. And I like how you're continuing the theme here. Some people would, say that the scores are going to be low and then they'd be like, oh, no one's going to miss a spare and there's not going to be any splits. And you'd be like, well, which one? What are you implying here? We're going to go here. Another question. How many strikes will be thrown in match 3? And that will be the winner of the first 2 matches versus Packy here. So getting back to your logic here, if Packy's got the look and he's got the left side to himself, he could have the potential to go off here.
You know what would really be handy is to be able to watch the practice on the TV pair and then put in your answers after watching. So you see what Packy's look is and you see where the right-handers are playing. You see if anybody's throwing charcoal up the middle or whatever they're doing, and you could make a little more educated guess. But I just have this feeling that Packy, the way he's been bowling, and I love the guy watching the house videos. He's funny.
He's awesome.
He looks always relaxed, even when he's, at the height of competition. I thought he bowled so good on that show where he finished second. So it wouldn't surprise me to see him make a run at winning tonight. So if I gave him 7 and how about a dozen?
All right. We'll pencil in for a dozen.
That 10th frame though, boy, you're right. That just makes it a wild card.
Yeah, exactly. All right, moving on here. Will there be a game over 259 bowled during the step ladder? FYI, every show but the Cheetah show, there has been a game over 259 bowled on a step ladder. Last night, it was would there be a game over 265 bowled, because it's Cheetah, of course. And there wasn't a game over 230 bowled yesterday. So a pretty interesting question here. On the last contest, I think that we had for the World Championship, 75% of people took the over on the 259 game.
I'm going to say no. I think, 259, that's really saying you're going to get a 260. So if you get 10 strikes and 2 9 spares split apart, that's 58. And I just think the right side's going to get with that rev rate is not going to be pretty.
And I think, it's interesting. We saw with the Cheetah show yesterday how the urethane must have destroyed the lanes throughout the practice that they get before the show, and then the practice between the matches, and then the matches themselves. So like you said, it'll be interesting. I wonder if, do you think the players ever talk to each other and say, hey guys, let's try to break down the lanes here nicely so we can have a higher scoring or, a better environment for the TV show, make the lanes last longer and just play it out? Or do you think all the guys are, more of just, I'm just going to practice what I want to see and try to make it as good for me?
I know it happens. I've seen it happen when I'm there at shows. I've talked to people about it, and usually it happens on guys who are on the same ball staff. Who tend to work together. They're sharing ball reps. Like usually if there might be, say, for example, 4 Storm guys on a show and there's only Jimmy and Timmy or
Right.
Jimmy and Sean there, each game you're going to get one guy, and everybody they just want a Storm guy to win. Their friends, their teammates, their staffers. So they're all kind of working together in that. They each want to win individually, but they're more likely to cooperate to help each other. And I've heard of them, guys who are cross staff who are buddies who work that way. And sometimes you just have like, they're lefties, let's not screw up our side and we want to beat these right-handers, or vice versa.
Right.
So, it'd be really interesting if there was 2 lefties and 3 righties to see, there'd probably be a little bit more of the strategy. Now, Packy can do whatever he wants. And, I would sure think that the right-handed guys might want to talk a little bit beforehand and just, we don't all want to start at 20 and end up at 35.
Or maybe that's one of their mentalities is like, hey, let's make them as messy as possible. I like my chances. But do you think that there's any possible gamesmanship? We got some two-handers that have thrown backup balls on TV, won titles, have competed with a backup ball. Is there any sort of like, hey, all is fair in love and war, and maybe Packy's got it to himself and we want to try to, mess it up a little bit for him?
I cannot recall ever hearing of or seeing people intentionally do that on a show. I'm not saying it hasn't happened, and it wouldn't surprise me if it has. I personally haven't witnessed it or talked to it, or someone's actually doing that in practice.
Right, you can actively see them attempting to do that.
However, you're kind of stepping beyond, you're getting ahead of it, of what I was going to say when we talk about the championship match. If the right side gets completely shattered, I would not be completely stunned if Packy's bowling really good and the right side's totally fried out to see Simo go for it.
I didn't even.
He won a PBA Tour title doing it. We always have to remember that he's done it.
Beat a left-hander while he was doing it.
So this is not something that's coming out of left field. It's happened before, and if EJ and Tommy and Belmo are totally deep and just blast the right side apart, you could see Simo go way right and throw it 100 miles an hour, which he's fabulous at. And it wouldn't be the complete stunner if Packy's got a good look and the right side's trash to see the backup come out, because he's done it before. How much fun would it be if it did?
Oh my God. I love watching it. I know when he won earlier this season in the Phil Ball, he just did it just for fun.
Yep.
And even when he does it for fun, he makes it look so effortless and so easy, like it's nothing to him. And I don't think we haven't seen Belmo break the backup ball out. Certainly on television, we've never seen him break that out. And, I'm sure Belmo is just as confident as anybody at throwing a backup ball. So we'll have to wait and see if, what a crazy show that would be. Could you imagine a Belmo-Simo title match, both throwing backup balls?
Now, Belmo has used it before in PBA competition, though.
Right, correct. He has.
Remember the U.S. Open and was it 18 in Syracuse where they were lofting they used the double burn, and they were lofting the cap and the, on the fresh at the end of the fresh squad. And I remember that. I'm pretty sure because I ended up messaging with him, and he actually called me and during the week, and we did a story after he'd used it, and he explained it. And that was before Simo had won the tour stop, the Flow Bowling stop that he won throwing backup. So this is, if people see this and they lose their minds, it's not like it hasn't been used and happened before.
No. And I think the difficult part here, before we move on to the next question, I think the difficult part is if you're Simo, you only get so many shots of practice to warm up on the pair right before the match. So it's almost like he's got to go into those practice shots with the mentality of, I'm either using the backup ball or I'm not. But Simo is such an aggressive player that if he starts off with the first 3 frames and he doesn't like what he sees, I would see him just change in the middle of the game with no practice at all, just based off of what Packy's doing. He's that aggressive of a player. I think it'll be really interesting how it plays out.
The thing that he would maybe try it in is he gets that set of practice balls before the semifinal match.
Yep.
And that would be perhaps where he would say, okay, let me take a look here at what Packy's done to him after if Packy happens to win and then say, okay, here's where I'm going to take a look at it and say, there's nothing there. I'm not even going to try it. Or, man, if the right side's really bad, I've got my my backup plan.
No pun intended.
Literally.
Literally. All right. What will be the margin of victory in the title match today?
Whew. And that's another one where you toss a coin in the air and just based on the overall talent level of everybody and Anthony being the top seed, I think he'll find something to stay within the realm. And I'm going to say 6-10.
6-10. I like that guess. Obviously, with the roll off recently, that was a really close match. And we've seen some. It's almost like we've had a roll off on every single television show thus far throughout the PBA season. Last night we had one. Then obviously for Chris Prather to win, he had a roll off. We saw a roll off, I think, on the very first match of the season with Tommy Jones and Sean Maldonado having the roll. It's really crazy. I don't remember a time where it was like almost like a lockjaw for every single show to have a roll off, and that's kind of how it feels right now. So we'll wait and see. But now to the question that you've alluded to throughout this entire thing, right, as being possibly one of the most difficult questions tonight. Who is going to win the PBA Scorpion Championship tonight?
Well, if I knew what the right side looked like going in after the first couple of matches, I'd be much more confident about making a pick here. But I think much like EJ kind of got some demons off with his win in the doubles. If you saw Simo's win in the players this year and the massive emotion he had there, that one picture where he's holding up the trophy and he's like this, you could just see the elation on a guy that's usually pretty intense and not real overly emotional like that. And, he's, again, another guy that's had some just awful stuff happen on TV, but might be the most talented, versatile player. He's like the power version of Norm Duke in my mind that can do more than just about anybody, from straight to boomerang to the backup. So I'd someday he's going to be player of the year. I feel, and maybe this is the year, maybe this is one of the nights that does it. And as much as I feel like Packy has a great chance to win and break out, I think Ant's going to win. I do. I just top seeds have had a tough run of it, but I just think that maybe this is his year, and this second title right here going on top of the major would put him, right at the top of the player of the year. And I just like his whole mentality of how he's bowling this year and having that win under his belt.
Do you think a win here makes him the front runner for this year's player of the year thus far?
Boy, it's
titles?
Yeah, it might, but God, there's so many guys with so much, look at Chris Prather. I mean, he's top seed in 2 straight majors and, a win in a second. And then, EJ's just like every time we turn on the TV, it seems like he's on and, got a win and the US Open, he leads by 500 and of course loses the title match. And it just, like I said, this is to me looking like 2018 again, except we're not going to have tournaments to decide it in the fall like we had that year. I mean, we're going to come down. Wouldn't it be interesting if it comes down to the mixed doubles, the Lucy? That's because that's the last tournament of the year.
Yeah.
And if we don't have any World Bowling that figure in later in the year, if that's a wild card that could happen, some World Bowling Tour stuff, I don't know if that could happen or not. But otherwise, and if that comes to it and Belmo's a contender, would he come all the way back from Australia to bowl that event if it was, player of the year on the line? That could be kind of the story of the summer.
Yeah, that really could be interesting for sure. All right, and then moving on here to the last question. What's going to be the winning score in the title match? Last night was 214. Night before that was 236. I think then we also had a 212. So I think, we haven't had any low scores for the winnings from the title match yet below below 212, I do not believe. So I think that's kind of been the lowest. And then we've had some scores that have been a little bit higher than that as well.
I'm going to say 227.
227. I
Throw
like
a number out there.
It feels like a nice, solid guess. Not too low of scores, but definitely a hittable score, I think. So let's go ahead. Let's get your picks in here. We got your picks in for the PBA Scorpion Championship. EJ Tackett winning the first match, 11 strikes thrown in match number 2. More than 6 splits, a lot of splits being left today, folks, according to Jeff. What will the overall average of all games be, bowled throughout the step ladder? How many spares are going to be missed? 4 to 5. How many strikes? 12. Will there be a game over 259 bowled? No. What will be the margin of victory in title match? 6 to 10 pins. Simo with the win, and 227 for Simo in the title match. Those are your picks. Hey, we can change them. If you don't like anything right now, I can go ahead and I can edit them. But you like where you're standing right now?
Well, I am not, one of the things my colleagues in the journalism world through the years, I always chuckle with the sports guys who have to sit down before games and series and make predictions and how ridiculous they look like picking Super Bowl win, because that's the thing about sports. We don't know.
Yeah.
Even Tiger Woods at his best was winning, 27% of the tournaments or whatever it was in his best years, which is astronomical. And even Belmo and Earl and that at their very best would only win 6 of 20 or 6 of 30 events. So, trying to make predictions of sports, especially bowling, where every shot by the players is impacting the environment. I mean, last night, every person that predicted last night probably was like, oh, I didn't see that coming. Every knowledgeable person anyway. The only kind of person that would have done good with last night's is someone who went counterintuitive for what was expected. So
yeah, it's exactly true. That's a great way to put it. And I think you're right. I mean, sports are so difficult to predict, and on any given night, anything can happen, right? And it's always interesting to see how things play out. Sometimes they play out exactly the way that you think they're going to, and sometimes we see shows like last night where they play out not even close to the way that we thought they were going to play out. So tonight's show, I think I'm with you. I think lower scores. That's my guess. And I also think that we're going to see another really great television show. I'm kind of praying now for some backup balls to be thrown, just for some added excitement. I don't know why, right? Why does the way the ball is rotating make it more exciting than the other? But I don't know. I just think that would be incredibly exciting. So I'm hoping for it.
I still can't. I mean, it's 3 or 4 years ago now. I still can't believe it. When I was young, if you had told me a PBA player could win a PBA Tour title throwing a backup ball, I would have bet every penny I had. Of course, that was before there was two-handers. I don't think a one-handed person could do that because they couldn't get enough revs. But it's still, I enjoyed watching Anthony's win in that tournament so much. I would love to see the reaction from regular bowlers in that. The social media tonight and tomorrow would just be off the rails.
Oh yeah, it would be off the rails, that's for sure. Well, thanks, Jeff. I really appreciate you stopping by, man. I know you're a busy guy. Hope you enjoy the show tonight. We'll talk soon again, buddy. Thanks again, man, for all the support here on this. And I guarantee you, I'm guaranteeing personally, I don't know any answers, but I've got this intuition here that you're not going to go over. You're not going to go over 10.
1-4 then.
I just said over. I didn't say anything else.
2 right. I'm going to get 2 right. You watch. That's my prediction.
All right. Sounds good, Jeff. Thanks a lot, man. We'll talk again soon.
See you later. Thanks, man.
Take care, Jeff. All right, guys. Well, there you have it. That wraps up another episode of the PBA Pick'em Preview Show. Big shout out to Jeff for coming and stopping by, making us picks. We really appreciate him. And if you guys haven't already, we've got, I don't even know what time it is, 5:30. You've got about an hour and 20 minutes to go ahead, get your picks in, win up to $10,000. We're also giving away a ton of cool bowling prizes, free games from Bolero, accessories here from KR Strikeforce. So if you guys haven't already, make sure you go in, make your pick, give yourself a chance to win. Also, we have some season-long prizes that are up for grabs as well. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to send us a message, pbapick'em.com. Go ahead, get your picks in, and good luck to everybody who's playing. Take care, everyone, and we will see you all tomorrow for another episode of the preview show for the PBA Shark Championship. Take care, everyone.